Welcome to the All Right Right Now seminar series. Today's video is a continuation about brain function. The purpose is to provide you with an understanding about how certain brain functions work, how they can contribute to suffering, and how our hyperstimulated life knocks them out of balance. This is the fourth seminar series and corresponds to Chapter 2 in the book. Understanding this framework about how the brain works makes it much easier to proceed with the core practices. If you've missed any of the earlier videos, you may want to go back and see them. Each video builds on the previous one. In any event, let's get started. There is no What's Going On poem this time, as it's a continuation of the chapter on the brilliant brain. As a refresher, here are the 6 functions we are interested in, and today we're going to focus on socialization and adaption. The human brain's insatiable need for socialization has put our species atop all creation. We've evolved to flourish in groups. But the socialization function comes with some aspects that can negatively impact momentary experiences if they're out of balance. The 2 we want to talk about today is the sense of self and vocalization. You begin to develop a sense of self at birth. A newborn quickly realizes who its mother is as a source of comfort and food. Sense of self evolved to help you focus on getting what you want as well as avoiding what you don't want. Your sense of self, your you, is not singular and fixed, though your brain is constantly spinning a narrative that you are consistent. You have multiple yous. With each prediction, you are constructed based on the instance that the brain calls up. Though you have changed and matured over time, your brain doesn't forget who and how you were at the time of the memory. Ever notice on a particular occasion you react to something in a way that reminds you of how you reacted similarly in the past? It can be quite subtle at times. You may even skip over it, but it's there. Having multiple yous help in navigating the world of social relations. Presenting a version of you lets others decide whether you belong to their group or not. Most of us present different you at work, with old friends, and if pulled over by the police. By seeing the you that others reveal, your brain gets valuable information on what it should reflect and what it should conceal. How their you behaves and interacts within a group also helps you understand roles and relationships. The brain perceives all this information unconsciously and determines the appropriate you to project. By being aware, you will notice the you you're projecting, and it's surprisingly hard to break out of it. Think of a time when you joined a new group or a new job or any new situation. How long did it take you to adjust to the group's behavioral norms? How often did you hang on to what you normally would have done? The need to fit in is so primal that when your brain struggles to assimilate, it may default to the you associated with past experiences of social anxiety. The brain will spin narratives about you, about others, and about the situation to justify being a socially anxious you. These people are weird. I'm being judged. They don't get me. Being here is a mistake. If this happens often enough, the brain raises the socially anxious you as the concept for all social interactions. So now you automatically try to avoid social situations. And if you can't, you're wary of them. You may be silent. You'll be a wallflower. Or maybe you drink heavily so you can interact. Maybe you arrive late and leave early. Or maybe you judge people too quickly. Is that suffering? You'll have to decide that. Just by realizing that your brain's socialization function constructs a version of you in each situation, you're able to lessen its grip and shift to the you want to be. Identifying your true self and creating the means to draw it into consciousness are key to the sense of all right now. You'll learn how to do this in the core practice number 4, the wannabe tree. Let's talk a little bit about vocalization. With the advent of speech, survival soared. Vocalization helps improve success in hunting, gathering, in all group endeavors. With words, we convey ideas, values, theoretical concepts, like truth. Words help us plan, solve problems, gather people together, motivate people. We use them to connect, to tell lies, and to even gossip. Ever fret over what other people may be saying about you? The power of words is so deep that your brain has evolved a voice in your head. Most of us have a stream of self-talk advising, nitpicking, blaming, coaching, and uplifting us in any particular moment. It fabricates thoughts, stories, both true and false, so you are consistent in belief, in thought, in word and action, and in your perception of experience. Unsolicited self-talk may reveal the boundaries and conditions that the brain has constructed from past experience. It can dictate who you should be, how you should feel and act, and to what you should or should not be attracted to. It's like a sidekick who is constantly reminding you to keep in line with how you were in the past. Now, some of this self-talk is helpful and relevant. Some of it is not. The voice in your head would be much more beneficial to you if it reminded you about who you want to be in addition to who you used to be. Learning to identify your self-talk, training it to include advice on who you want to be, is covered in the self-talk chapter. For many people, self-talk is one of the first construct or old way that they can address. Let's move on to adaption. To ensure your survival, your brain has evolved into a highly adaptive organ. It is complex and operates incredibly fast. It is estimated to have 86 billion neurons, along with a similar number of support cells in a complex network that is capable of 500 trillion connections in milliseconds. It's continuously refining its structure and neural connections based on internal and external stimuli. That refinement is also called neuroplasticity. Of course, complexity, speed, and adaptation don't come for free. The brain requires an enormous amount of energy to operate. Even though it weighs 3.5 pounds, it consumes 20% of the body's energy. It's truly an energy hog. So it's evolved a number of ways to conserve energy in a given moment. Here are 3. Doing the minimum. Sometimes the brain just goes with its prediction without considering any sensory input. No assessment of what's novel, no firing up the prefrontal cortex to determine a new risk profile, no energy spent on adaptation or reconsolidation of a new instance or establish a new concept. It has concrete proof that it works. You're still alive. However, our world changes quickly while memories change slowly, if at all. And as you get older, you accumulate a lot of old memories. If on most days there are no real life or death threats, why do many of us cringe, feel stress, and get upset as we go through our day? From a survival perspective, the brain values its energy savings higher than a more accurate prediction. Even when the toll, or in other words, suffering, from processing the aftermath of poor prediction can be quite high. Use it or lose it. The brain is constantly adapting to become more efficient. Neurons that fire together frequently strengthen and streamline. Patterns used infrequently fade. So what do you think your brain does to address the fire hose of stimuli each day? It strengthens and widens neural pathways that trigger signals to react to a high volume of threats and simultaneously weakens pathways to adapt and reconsolidate. In essence, it makes a 6-car drag strip straight to the reactions of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, while letting the neural pathways of adaptation and reconsolidation become overgrown, bumpy dirt roads. Thus, neural pathways associated with reacting to threats are more easily activated. The brain is naturally adapting to daily living by becoming more sensitive and reactive to threats. And as a result, you suffer more. Tapping the brakes. Whenever you feel like procrastinating, it could be your brain tapping its brakes. If you feel tired, lethargic, or bored for no particular reason, your brain may be conserving energy. Why waste fuel if no perceived threat exists? Your brain will also make you feel tired before your muscles are out of energy. It's the trick the brain uses to keep a reserve of energy. This was handy when a saber-toothed tiger could be anywhere around the corner. The brain has kept this pattern to be ready for real or perceived threats. A great example of this is the marathon runner hitting the wall in the later stages of the race. They just learned to push through it. The brain is truly a marvel, but it can be awfully lazy. And that laziness directly affects your feelings and the quality of your experience in any given moment. Through the core practices, and particularly the chapter on old ways, you can begin to realize what your adaptive function has learned to do and alter it so you can respond more skillfully. That's what we're going to cover today. We'll post some questions for you to think about on the way out. Remember, when you understand how the brain works, you can manage its pesky quirks. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.